Silly Girl, Silly Thoughts, Episode 12, Take 2. Episode 12, Take 2. Good morning, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Silly Girls, Silly Thoughts. I'm your host, Mindful Body with Rachel B. It's me. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another week, another episode, another topic. I put up a poll on my Mindful Body with Yoga B Instagram page. If you're not following, I recommend that you do, as well as the Silly Girl Silly Thoughts page on Instagram. I'm asking my followers, my listeners, my friends, what do we want to hear first? And a lot of people chose boundaries. It's a big word. We hear it so much when it comes to growing up. We've heard it so much online. We hear it so much in the therapy world, as many of you know. I'm a licensed associate marriage and family therapist in the state of New Jersey, and I work with families and relationships because it feels the most practical to me. It's what I've even experienced, and I'm still trying to learn how to set my boundaries. What are boundaries? For some of us, we look at them as hard walls, keeping people out, keeping stimulus out, protecting ourselves. Some of us have no boundaries, willing to listen and hear and eat so much information. And I know I use the metaphor of eat, but a lot of us have no boundaries when it comes to our phones, when it comes to internet. And some of us aren't even able to set those boundaries because there's so many screens around us. It's hard to do, but it's possible. Some of you have heard me say on earlier episodes, what's in your control, what's outside of your control. That's a boundary that a lot of us challenge because we want to control what we can't. We're humans. The topic of boundaries came up this week after I was asked to write a newsletter for my local yoga studio. I was super excited. I could write about anything, what I liked about yoga, what I got from yoga, and I don't know, when I incorporate my yoga and my mental health, it's finally learning what the word boundaries is, or at least how to portray boundaries. I started my newsletter with just the opening of, I was never taught boundaries until I took a yoga class. All it took was someone saying, don't worry about me. Don't worry about the person next to you. It's just you and your mat. That was it. I don't know why that clicked in my head where I'm like, that makes sense. Here I am in a community space, sharing the moment, sharing the experience of the class, but everyone's body is so different. Everyone's age is different. Everyone's capabilities are different. Everyone's movement is different. That's reality. Even though we can relate to one another based on an interest, based on culture, based on hair color, whatever you name, we can do it, we can group ourselves, but there's still power in being your individual self while maintaining community and relationships. That's what I just see as practicality. So here I am in a yoga class, and I've incorporated this in my teaching day to day. When you are on your mat, it really is just you and your mat. It really is just you listening to your body and what you need in the moment without worrying about the people around you because they're already thinking of themselves as well. Is this being selfish? Sure. I'm all here to support a healthy level of selfish, silly girl thought. Because if you're not selfish about your well-being and you're allowing yourself to be living, if you're allowing yourself to live without boundaries, why are you approaching everything good and bad with such an open heart? Are you willing to take those little jabs? Because they're coming. Everyone's boundaries can be different based on everything you can tolerate, especially where you come from. A lot of people know that my mom is a first-gen American, so between a lot of my first-generation friends, and a lot of my friends who are second or third, I see the emphasis. I've lived the emphasis of family is everything. That's a valid statement. And on the pro side, family is everything. Family is love. Family is community. Family is support. Family shows up. And family is also annoying. And family calls you every day, and family calls maybe 3 times a day, and family's always in your business, and family's always sharing your news without your permission. And that's the negatives. Good and bad, family is family. Good and bad, it is what it is. Good and bad, what do you want? Because boundaries also change over time. I kind of reflected back to a point in my teenage life because I don't really feel like I grew up with too many boundaries, respectfully, because my mom was my mom. She didn't really have boundaries either. I remember my grandmother calling my house 3, 4, 5 times a day. What are you doing? Where are you going? What's going on? It comes from the intention of she's bored and probably wants to hang out, but it lacked boundaries on both sides because my mom was so willing to take those phone calls, willing to walk away from the dinner table, willing to just listen to her rather than be present. And that was frustrating growing up. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong. It's the fact that my mom had so much, whatever you want to call it, respect. We live with a sense of hierarchy in families, respect towards our elders, respect towards our parents, respect towards their needs. Many of us as kids feel like we have to service our own families. We're not a productive member if we're not helping, if we're not giving back, if we're not present, if we're not problem solving. And that's a valid experience for so many of us. So here I am growing up observing my grandmother having this demand, answer me, talk to me, listen to me, and my mom answering that demand. And I could see her getting frustrated some days because who has time to talk on the phone 3 times a day? Not a working mom. Not someone who's trying to clean their house, not someone who's trying to take care of their kids, not someone who's trying to make dinner. And sometimes I think, why did she not set boundaries? Why do I not set boundaries? And it felt like you had to put up a brick wall because that boundary wasn't always respected. This is what we talk about in family therapy. And I know I'm being open because I feel like a lot of us feel this general experience. This is my general example. Because our grandparents are a little pushy sometimes. And our parents are a little pushy sometimes. And we want to set these boundaries just so we can catch our breaths, just so we can create our own story, just so we can listen to our own thoughts. But what does that look like? For me, setting a boundary may have just been me telling my parents, please just give me space. Just give me space. But when you're an anxious parent, like so many people, and it might be us at some point when we become parents, they're met with, why? What's wrong? What's going on? What do you need? What's going on? What's happening? Do you need something? Are you feeling okay? What's happening? What's going on? Where are you going? Who are you talking to? You feel that? A lot of us have been in that position. A lot of us have that, oh my God, I just wanted to catch my breath. Why are you bothering me? Because if you put yourself in your parents' shoes, it's something's changing, something's out of my control, something is not going right, something is wrong, I'm a problem solver, I'm here to keep you safe, and I don't know if you're being safe because I don't know what's happening. You feel that anxiety, you feel that fear, you feel that, what I just said a second ago, us trying to control what's outside of our control. We all do it. We all get to that point. We all do these silly thoughts and silly moments because we all have feelings. And what do feelings do? Feelings complicate things. But feelings are necessary. What you need to do so you don't get into complicated situations is to understand what your feelings are. And that's hard to do because, again, you can't control the people around you. So when you're speaking from a place of, I'm feeling overwhelmed with you trying to reach out to me from multiple platforms. I'm talking about this like this is present day. Trust me, this is not present day. This is just a Wednesday. This probably happened again. It'll probably happen 3 months later. But trying to communicate even to my mom over time, learning that language of reassurance to her fear. Mom, I am safe. I literally just need a second to get my work done. That's it. There's nothing you can do to help, and that is okay because I'm able to do it on my own. But I am feeling stressed out, which is probably making you think that something is wrong when I am okay. These are normal conversations all of us need to have with our parents at some point. I'm telling you. Because as much as everyone's sitting here like, Rachel, all we do is fight. Rachel, every time I put a boundary, someone's pushing it. Yeah, no kidding. It's change. You have to be consistent because change is not easy, whether we initiate it, whether it happens inevitably. But silly thought, if you are not willing to stay consistent, you're not going to get the change you want. Sometimes boundaries are hard walls. I've had to set a boundary that was a hard wall to a point where I didn't speak to my parents for maybe a month. And it's not that they did anything bad. It's not that they did anything to hurt me. It's not that they did anything to upset me. It's just because I was under so much pressure and so much stress from things, again, outside of my control but related to my career, that I just couldn't talk to everyone. I almost set a hard boundary with the intention of, well, I'm in a bad mood and I don't want to take this out on everyone, to guilt. People don't talk about the feeling of guilt when it comes to setting boundaries, especially for a lot of us who come from enmeshed families. I felt guilty. That one thought in my head that says, Rachel, you just need to catch your breath. You just need to catch your moment. You just need to take your time. While the other was, way to go, Rachel. You're not talking to your family. And they're all hanging out without you. This is a valid feeling. And when so many of my clients and friends and I talk about setting these boundaries and setting these moments of hard walls, for whatever reason, a reset, catch our breath, because people are just not listening the first time, the second time, the fifth time, the 10th time. You're allowed to acknowledge that part of you that feels grief, that part of you that feels shame, that part of you that possibly even feels disappointed. I'm letting my family down. These are normal feelings to have. Because as much as people want to push this whole boundaries are everything, boundaries are so empowering, boundaries are also scary. Because you don't know if you set this boundary, if people come back. And again, right back to that parental fear. Where are you going? What are you doing? What's going on? How are you reassuring yourself that, hey, this hard boundary is just for a moment, with intention and regulation of my own emotions? I will approach a conversation with whoever to see if we can rebuild that bridge. Boundaries are both simple. No, please do not touch me. And some boundaries are a little bit more complicated. Again, it's based on your individual need. What do you need? What do you want? What are you willing to do? It's not about me. It's not about my experience. Your life is not my life. Your family is not my family. Your relationships are not my relationships. And even if we had the same relationship with the same person, I bet you it's probably a little different because we are different people. That's the beauty of life. And maybe I relate this back to a yoga because there's beauty in seeing each individual person move and flow and create their shapes while sharing the space together. Move that metaphor into day-to-day life. I've talked about teenage, I've talked about college life. These are those transitional moments for a lot of us, from we're doing this together in high school to we're doing something different in college. We're doing something different in trades. Maybe we don't do anything at all. And naturally, I think as humans, initially when we see people doing different things, there's judgment. How could they do that? What is that? How can they? You can be jealous of the differences. You can be jealous. That's fine. Don't let it take you. Don't let it influence the moment. Acknowledge it. In your control, what you're jealous of, can you have that for yourself? Or is it outside of your control? And you have to accept the jealousy for what it is and change directions. Because again, if you're trying so hard to challenge things that are outside of your control, you're exhausting yourself. We've all been there. Humanize a human experience. We've all been there, trying to control people around us, trying to control experiences, trying to control situations. Good luck. Good luck. But setting that boundary of what's outside of our control brings us back to the individual. How can I move in this situation? How can I navigate through this experience? And if it just doesn't serve me and I don't want it, how the hell am I going to set a boundary and get the hell out of here? What's in my control? In terms of romantic relationships, I don't even know. I try to think of my own boundaries, and some of them are just silly. A silly boundary that I can talk about would be like, I don't know, so many of us use the bathroom. That's such a practical boundary. Don't walk in on me when I'm using the bathroom. Maybe your rules are different. Maybe you guys have a shared vanity sink and you're like, use the bathroom whenever you like, but, don't bother me if I'm using the toilet. I don't know. Make your own rules, I guess. That's a silly relationship boundary I think of sometimes, especially when you're living with your partner. Firmer boundaries could be, we don't talk about certain topics together because we know it's going to activate conflict. That's a boundary in my own home. My partner and I acknowledge that our differences may lead to conflict just because we're both passionate about our opinions, passionate about our views. Does that mean we're not supposed to be together? No. I'm not trying to date myself. I'm looking to date someone who's different because I'm also open-minded to learn his perspective, to grow in my own perspective. That's my intention. But the boundary is necessary again. Because in relationships, if you're not picking and choosing your battles and your conflict is existing all the time, you're going to exhaust yourself. Again, open boundaries, open-hearted, willing to take those jabs, but you can only take it for so long. And there's even a point in my own relationship that I saw how he and I both look at each other and pick and choose which battles are necessary. Because we're too tired for this shit. We've gotten to a point where we're both looking at each other like, hey, you're this and I'm this, and here are our similarities and here are our differences, and here are the ways they complement one another, and here are the ways where we can just fight about it, and it's just not the time and place. Set that boundary. Today is not the day. We both do it. Sometimes it's in our facial expressions. I laughed about that a few months ago. I was like, I could see it in your face, B, when you're like debating if today's the day you want to, start an argument. He's like, you do the same thing. I'm like, picking and choosing my battles. It can be playful, but again, boundaries are still necessary because we're not sharing this whole experience as one entity, one being. We are all different people in a shared space. The biggest place I never see boundaries anymore, unfortunately, is social media. And I know I can rant on this for hours. Oh my God. There's a part of me that can't wait for the internet to just shut off. I just want everyone to just be silent. Because it's overwhelming. Social media has been overwhelming since I was in college. I don't know why. Social media came out when I was in middle school, but it feels like it exploded in college. Because everyone uses social media on every platform, on everything, on every news, on every... Ay, Dios. Your phone is by your bed, your TV's by your here, your computer screen's I got 3 screens in front of me right now. And when you don't have boundaries to put down your damn phone... I have teenagers who are connected to their friends 24/7. I have people reading the news 24/7. I got people on random, like, reality TV arguments listening to this crap for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like, I'm exhausted. I have challenged my sense of boundaries on my phone. I have different platforms for different reasons. My private profile, my professional profile, my podcast profile, these all have different meanings. Those are all different intentions. I don't even scroll through my Mindful Body TikTok page. I don't. I know I'm posting things about mental health. I'm posting things about yoga. There are some things I don't need to hear about mental health all the time. It's my job. I don't need to hear this from the moment I wake up to the moment I sleep. I need a break. I don't watch the news all hours of the day. Why am I going to overwhelm myself before I go to work? I talk to people every day. I set boundaries even with my own job. It alarmed some people when they found out that my Instagram private profile, when I make private stories, I change the close friends. And you're going to be like, oh my God, you posted things that I haven't seen? How dare you? My boundary. Thank you. My control. Thank you. Also picking and choosing my battles because I know what you guys like. It's not that hard. Social media has been a platform for everyone to hide behind a screen, but now no one is hiding and everyone is putting all of their business out there. And we see it. People do day of my life. We'll see what people are doing traveling. That's fine. But we've seen people use social media without boundaries when it comes to their relationships. I've seen people take their partners to court on TikTok. Excuse me? We see people fighting about bridal parties on TikTok. We see the car crash metaphor. We've seen parents expose their children on social media. No boundaries. No boundaries. Why? Because we love seeing, again, that metaphor car crash. What does that mean? When we're driving down the street, hell, we're driving on the New Jersey Garden State Parkway, my favorite place because I'm always there. And there's a car accident, unfortunately, but 6 lanes away, probably going the opposite direction, but everybody slows down to look. We're nosy. We are nosy. Mind your business. How hard is it to mind our business? It's hard to do when everyone's posting their business out there. Where are your boundaries about your business? Because we don't need to hear everything. Hell, my little teeny pops like to joke about it. They're like, Rachel's such a mysterious person. I'm really not. I'm really not. I just know what I want to share and what I want to talk about with who. Because I'm picking and choosing my battles. There are some relationships I value that I know I will lose if we talk about certain things. But everyone's posting about politics and sexuality and education and opinions and whatever it might be. I don't even know. You're all allowed to do it. I've done it too. But if you're posting everything and anything out there and you're almost surprised with any sort of backlash, but everybody has the ability to have an opinion, don't be on social media. I've had friends and people in the past tell me that they love podcasts that are so outspoken and so in your face and so over. Yeah, sure. It's called entertainment. I love reality TV too. Big Bravo fan. But why am I going to post things if I know I'm going to upset you and then I'm going to lose the relationship with you? That's not fair. And if you're sitting here like, well, you shouldn't be friends with them anyway, we're living in a world now where everyone is making things that we all relate to their personality. Go back to my episode about authenticity. Go back. If I post anything about vegan food, I'm going to have all these meat eaters come yell at me. If I post things about politics, I'll have everyone be like, you're a woman, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, great, great. Welcome to the world of social media. But when you take your time away from your phone, which everybody should be doing, you're allowing yourself to set a boundary from being overstimulated, being overwhelmed, being held in a space of stress. So many people are telling me how they can't feel grounded, how they're not feeling calm. And then without a beat, phone open, scrolling, 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 watching everything. Social media has gotten so uncomfortable for me because I just don't want to see everything. Call it ignorance is bliss, my silly thought. My friends, I was in first grade when 9/11 happened. I had a panic attack in my middle school classroom when they showed us a video of what had happened. What people were doing, what people were panicking about, what had happened was so traumatic. And I've never seen something like that. And now we're sitting on social media where we're watching things happening outside of this country, things that are so horrific on all sides, in all places. And I see the intention of trying to bring awareness. But then we also see what creeps in to make it overwhelming and unstoppable and panic and anxiety and fear and wanting to control what is outside of our control. It's not possible. I'm seeing all these young kids freak the hell out over politics when they're not even of voting age. And again, teach about politics to a point. But adults have made social media, algorithms have made social media not a place anymore to talk about things. It's not practical. It's not practical communication. It's not practical society. It's chaos. Living without boundaries, sharing whatever you want, feeling like you have this type of platform, because we all have this type of platform. We all have the ability to share our opinions. We all have the right to do so, but some opinions shouldn't be there because people do not have boundaries. I'm one of them. You're one of them. We've all been there. We've all wanted to start an argument online. We've all wanted to post something online. We've all wanted to promote something online, and we probably have. Silly thought. There was a point where I've been a part of protests and walks and moments, and I've stopped. Not because I don't support what I support, it's because I utilize it in a different atmosphere. I am a marriage and family therapist. You don't think I'm using what is in my control to help advocate for people, to help educate people, to help challenge people? Yes, it's more on a one-on-one basis, but that is what is in my control. I have the power to learn, to teach, to assist, not telling what to do, not holding restrictive boundaries, but just to exist with people, to validate those feelings and to help them assess what they need. That is my purpose. That's within my power. So no, I'm not entirely loving what social media has become. I'm not loving watching individual people get overwhelmed and overtaken by these feelings of stress that are going to be consistently promoted because that's the news. I don't know why no one relates this back to the news. News always feels negative. News is always trying to bring awareness to something, but sometimes news is just not necessary either. Where are your pockets of calm? Where is your bubble? I like to use this metaphor in therapy. A bubble is a boundary. And even though you can see through the bubble, you can see what goes on around you, you have to let that stimulus bounce off. However you do it. Through reassuring words. I don't even know. But when I sit in my own bubble, that maybe looks like me sitting in my backyard off my phone. That looks like me telling my little TikTok, not interested, not interested. Is that bad? Call it for whatever you want. I really don't care. But I have to talk to people every day. I have to be ready for that. And if I'm watching the news all day already exhausting myself, how the hell am I going to help my people? How the hell am I going to be present? Boundaries and mindfulness go hand in hand. Because without boundaries, you're not allowed to be present. You're not allowed to live mindfully. You're not allowed to be. Your body is here, but your mind, your thoughts are somewhere else. And you're missing out on the present moment. When it comes to setting boundaries, again, listen to yourself and reflect on what you want. And I definitely want to grow in this as I talk with people over time because we can highlight the boundaries that we set as children. Please don't touch me. Please don't take my toy. Highlight the boundaries of being a teenage. Let me do what I want. This is what I need to do. And parents can easily come forward. But I need to keep you safe. Into adulthood, that boundaries could be, I want to start my own family. And the grief along with that change. I miss my immediate family as I'm creating my own. My immediate family misses me as I grow to make my own. Sometimes boundaries are just a line, a warning, communicated. Please do not. Sometimes boundaries are a little bit more firm. Sometimes boundaries are a bubble where you can see what's going on around you, but you have to allow that crap to bounce off so it doesn't affect you. And boundaries consistently change. Again, what is in our control? Because some of us live in places where we can't run away from what is overwhelming us, and we have to face it head on. And that takes resilience, that takes strength, no matter whatever you're doing. Some of us have the ability to set a boundary and walk away from things and create our own peace. However you set boundaries, really think about it. What is the intention behind it? Am I doing this for myself? Am I doing this for my well-being? Am I doing this to protect others? Am I pushing people away to catch my breath? But as you utilize boundaries not only within your relationships, please try to utilize boundaries for yourself. We're not living in this world to be the same person. We all don't need the same things. We all are not following the same paths. Because we are our own individual people. And if we don't create our own individual things, how are we going to celebrate each other? How are we going to celebrate differences? How are we going to celebrate accomplishments? How are we going to celebrate the beauty of each person? Think about it. Keeping it short and sweet today, because I'm not going to lie, with the holiday weekend, we're running around like a nut. But we've only got 3 more episodes to go until this season comes for a close. I'm debating what to do for season 2. I'm super excited. These topics can be revisited, my friends. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to share your opinions. I want to learn. I want to listen. I'm here for you, as you are here for me. With that being said, I'm wishing you all a great rest of the day and week to come. Stay safe, stay hydrated this 4th of July. I'm your host, Mindful Body with Rachel B. This is Silly Girl, Silly Thoughts. See you next Wednesday.